Hey guys, Rebel Engine 95, recording live from your Luck County prison cell. I meant to get a video out last week. It's been a rough couple of days, I'm gonna be honest with you, fam. So, but I'm here now. Like I said, always, until we hear otherwise, we gotta keep supporting Death Battle, keep talking about it, keep our heads up, and hopefully everything works out. So I really wanted to, keep consistently making videos, but not gonna beat myself up over 1 week. Anyway, this fight was something that was relatively new actually for me, and I looked at it and I was like, oh wow, that's and I like it a lot more than I should, basically. I was kind of gonna go through like a bunch of old fights that I had stocked up because whatever, but it is what it is, you live and learn, but anyway, this is I believe the way I have it in the it doesn't matter the order, I guess. It's Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising, well, the Metal Gear series, specifically Metal Gear Rising, and Red Hulk, or General Thunderbolt Ross, from Marvel, right? But as Red Hulk, obviously. And this is really cool. Like, I wanted to randomly do a Red Hulk fight. I don't know why. I don't even particularly like the character. And the first character to come to mind was Atrocitus from DC, right? The Red Lantern leader. I mean, Atrocitus has enough mainstay representation that he's probably on the table, I would think. But I don't know. It's a Marvel DC fight, so it's like, I try to avoid those because there's literally hundreds of them. Like, any of them could happen at any time. It's like a Street Fighter Mortal Kombat fight. Like, you get to the point where like every character has like 6 characters that can fight from that one franchise. But so I was like, and that's kind of cool. Like, you could look into it, but then I thought of this, or I saw this one, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So anyway, getting into it. So Armstrong. We all know the memes. We all know the memes from Revengeance. But Senator Armstrong was a United States senator. I think he was from Texas. He represented Colorado. Not important. Played college football. Was a former Navy SEAL. Got elected into office. And yeah, tried to like commit genocide to like take over the to try to like turn the country into a sort of like Darwinistic like controlled Darwinistic experiment where it's like everyone who's strong will survive, and then will kind of like seek their own path, like post-apocalyptic path after that, and like because they'll all be strong, they'll all be able to accomplish what they want. Yeah, that sort of philosophy. Anyway, and he did this by hiring a ton of different mercenaries that were cybernetically enhanced, and of course, as the saying goes, save the best for last. So he actually ended up being the final boss by being cybernetically enhanced with nanobots. These nanobots not only gave him absurd superhuman strength and durability, superhuman strength, but they also gave him enhanced durability by means of hardening in response to physical trauma. So they seem to, there's been theories about how they operate. I remember Doctor said that they might draw in metal dust from the surrounding area and then transport it to places on his skin when he would take a hit. But that's just one theory. But basically what it allows him to do, and he can do it consciously or subconsciously, or unconsciously, I should say, is that anytime he would take a hit or has taken a hit, his skin in that area will harden because of the nanobots, and he'll become virtually indestructible in that area. This is he's not only taken hits from both Sam and Raiden's individual high frequency blades, he's also just been like punched by Raiden, who is strong enough to wield like giant swords that were attached to giant mechs. So like he's incredibly superhuman, and his punches just didn't even phase him, pretty much. These nanobots also give him a healing factor, where he can like reattach limbs and whatnot. He can also turn his hardened limbs into makeshift weapons. If like when his arm got cut off by Sam and he used the hardened slice of his arm to stab Sam through the chest with. Yeah, I mean, the most dangerous thing about Armstrong is, as I said before, his ideology, his political power, and his ideology of, the strong survive, and each man should be able to decide. Each man should live in a world where he can, fight for what he individually wants, and no one should have to contribute to a shared system where everyone is responsible for everyone. This does not, however, make him invincible, because his nanobots stem from his heart, which means that they're not instantaneous, right? That's actually how Sam was able to cut his arm off, because he was able to fire the rifle hilt of his blade into Armstrong's arm, which sent the nanomachines to that part of his body, and then before they covered his entire arm, he cut off the normal flesh part. So the normal flesh part of Armstrong is it's I don't want to say it's vulnerable, but it's much less protected. But again, the fact that he's taking hits from high frequency blades while he's armored, high frequency blades, by the way, which weaken the molecular bonds of the surface it touches, is remarkable, borderline like a physical impossibility, or a theoretical impossibility in physics, where like if the bonds are like, I've heard people arguing this, where like if the bonds are being broken, it doesn't matter how durable the object is. If its molecular bonds are being broken, then it will be destroyed, right? Like that's not something that can be, but he did, but this doesn't make him invincible, due to the fact that he has been harmed in this stage before by those high frequency blades. So I guess it's just like the Vader with the lightsabers, like he can take a few hits from them, but he's not like impervious to them. Yeah, so that's Senator Armstrong. Now on to General Ross, who I am going to accidentally call General Ealing a bunch of times, I can already tell, because not only was that like my favorite Justice League Unlimited episode, but also the characters are very similar. General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is in the original canon, he's a World War II veteran, and due to the updates, that's still confirmed, I believe. He is a World War II and Korean War veteran who was in charge of the military base that the project that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk was launched at, and as a result, he took Okay, just blind me. Okay. As a result, he took responsibility for hunting the Hulk down for years and years after the Hulk was let loose, right? after leading the military unit known as the Hulkbusters, after hiring essentially mercenaries like Doc Samson and all these other, guys, he eventually let his desire to capture his obsession with capturing the Hulk become so much that he, with the help of two mastermind villains, being MODOK and the Leader, agreed to become transformed by siphoning off some of Hulk's power, and that is what transformed him into what we know as the Red Hulk. In this form, which he can control at will, so he's not subject to his anger like Hulk is, right? Not only does he himself get a healing factor so he doesn't age, which is why he was able to be a World War II veteran, and he's still in comics today, and isn't like 100 years old. He's in his like 70s, I think. But in this Red Hulk form, he's equally as strong as like base level Hulk, arguably more. He's actually fought Hulk and, characters like Thor and other hulked out characters like A-Bomb and Abomination. He actually killed Abomination. He's done things that we equate to being Hulk level, like jumping from the moon to Earth and not only surviving the landing, but not having a scratch on him. And things like, again, fighting characters like Silver Surfer and Abomination, or Thor and Abomination. He did fight Silver Surfer, but that'll be later. But he also gains a secondary ability that's similar to Hulk's ability. So he doesn't get physically stronger with anger. He just begins to emit more radiation. And this radiation gets hotter the more angry he gets. To the point where his footprints in the desert at one point were hot enough to melt the sand into glass, which would put his body temperature at that point at thousands upon thousands of degrees. And he also, like I said, has a healing factor, but his healing factor is, once again, what I refer to as the Inuyasha healing factor, which is that he'll be fine the next day or in a few hours or whatever, but like he won't heal quickly enough for the wound that he receives to heal in the fight. So like he got his claws slashed he's got his eyes slashed by Wolverine, and it took hours for them to grow back, whereas we've seen the Hulk has regrown his own head in seconds. But yeah, the downside to these abilities, specifically the radiation one, is that while he can hypothetically reach any level with this power, his body and mind still being intact from his transformation, unlike the Hulk in many cases, means that he actually can't withstand those temperatures himself, and he'll start becoming dizzy and unable to control himself after a while, which is actually how he lost to Hulk after beating him, but they refought and he lost to him. Yeah, and the last ability that he has is something that probably won't come up for this fight, but he actually has the ability to absorb radiation as well, which you would think is weird for a character that has a weakness of exerting too much radiation, would want to absorb more, but specifically in his words, he has a taste for cosmic radiation, which goes back to the Silver Surfer fight where he was able to actually absorb Silver Surfer's power cosmic for a limited amount of time and actually ride on the surfboard and everything, which is terrifying. But yeah, I mean, he's a Hulk among Hulks. Like I said, he's jumped out of Earth's atmosphere. He's caused earthquakes by landing. He's, done a ton of crazy stuff. Except this guy wants to kill and is a trained soldier with literal decades of experience. And and has a hate boner for one of the strongest Marvel characters. So he's got a chip on his shoulder. Yeah. But the poeticism of the fight isn't necessarily how strong the people are. It's the notion of, funny enough, considering it's Marvel, it's the irresponsible use of power. One is a senator who's trying to use his political power to basically, use innocent blood to restart the world due to his ideology, and the other is like an Ishmael type character who, is so obsessed with a character that he with someone who he believes is dangerous that he actually becomes equally, if not more, dangerous as a result. The Nishan dilemma of be careful those who fight monsters lest you become a monster. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about who would win in a fight. One thing I just realized I forgot to mention about Armstrong, and this could come up, is Armstrong's also apparently capable of generating heat himself and firing it like fire, like not fire per se, but more like some combustible material. He's punched the ground and had it shoot out of the ground before, so okay. I don't think that's gonna matter because I think Red Hulk wins this fight regardless. So, for a couple of reasons. A, the scope of power is just a little bit off. Like, yeah, Raiden and Sam are incredibly superhuman characters who've, like Raiden's jumped across an entire city in a single jump, basically. And like I said, he's outsped bullet trains, he's outrun bullet trains, and he's dueled with giant sized swords, and he has a high frequency blade that lets him, and Armstrong was kicking his ass for the longest time. Right? But then look at whose ass Red Hulk was kicking. Fucking Thor and Hulk and Abomination. It's a little different when you've got, a guy who can jump across a city versus a guy who can leave Earth's orbit by jumping. Different from a guy who punches a superhuman cyborg versus a guy who punches a god. So in that regard, but that's not necessarily the whole fight, right? Like, after all, Armstrong's nanobites, they're supposed to protect him from any physical trauma. And the only time we've ever seen him hurt was from a high-frequency blade. Well, okay. But a couple things to consider there. A, we're not just dealing with the pure strength of Red Hulk, we're also dealing with the excess radiation. Now, we've never heard anything specifically about nanobots being affected by radiation, but we did hear that we do know that his nanobots aren't instantaneous. They don't just appear whenever he's about to be hurt. He has to do it either consciously or he has to wait until he's already been hit. So if Red Hulk gets mad enough, any part of Armstrong that is not currently covered in nanobots is probably getting just vaporized by the 2,000-3,000 degree radiation that he's giving off. Not to mention, he's giving off lethal doses of radiation. And yeah, the nanobots might not be affected by it, but Armstrong's still human, could still probably die from radiation poisoning. If not the physical strength, right? Because again, we have seen, yes, we've only seen him hurt by high-frequency blades, but if he can resist high-frequency blades and get hurt by them also, that implies that there is just a physical limit to how much his nanobots can take. So having a character that much stronger than him implies that there's a chance that Red Hulk could hurt him. And then there's minor things like the level of experience difference. Like, yeah, Armstrong was a Navy SEAL, but Red Hulk was also, Red Hulk was in several wars on the front lines for decades. So a little bit different when you've got somebody with that physical ability and that much experience. My favorite part about this fight is that these two would absolutely go after each other immediately. Like, it would be hands on sight. Because these two are just really good at picking fights with people, to be honest. But yeah, I think Red Hulk wins this. And like that thing I mentioned about Armstrong being able to shoot fire, that's cool. You're also dealing with a guy who can absorb radiation. So if you're shooting combustible material, he's probably just absorbing all of that heat anyway. Yeah, there's a chance that Red Hulk could overpower, but it doesn't. I mean, I believe there was a thing that said he could, like, explode if he were to reach, like, a critical point, but he always just, like, passes out before that happens. Or at the very least gets dizzy. So it's not like Armstrong can win via Red Hulk overheating, unless Red Hulk literally explodes from it, which we've never actually seen happen, I don't believe. And like I said, if Red Hulk were to get that hot, he could easily kill Armstrong just by being near him. So it's not like Armstrong really has a way to capitalize on Red Hulk getting overheating, because he would take himself out in the process. So I'm giving this fight to Red Hulk. Surprise, surprise, the Marvel character won. I'm kidding. That doesn't always happen. But yeah, I just think but I think this is a good fight. And, the funny thing is, you could probably even, despite how much of an insane difference there is between, like, this and the Atrocitus fight in terms of scaling that I was going to do, I still think Atrocitus Red Hulk would be a good fight. I still think you could argue I'm scaling Red Hulk down and that he could be scaled up to be a better fight for Atrocitus, but I just felt like doing this one, to be honest. But anyway, as I said, keep supporting Death Battle, watch as many videos as you can, like as many stuff. If they're doing something on Discord or whatever, take part in it. Save Death Battle, guys. Come on. Otherwise, I'm making a different channel. For Blended 95, see ya.